In this video, we will continue our discussion about properties of cancer. So let us now understand a few more properties of the cancer. So one of the essential properties of the cancer cell is that it affects the proteins that are present on the plasma membrane or the cell membrane. One of the example is the loss of E-cadherin that are present in epithelial cell, and because of the alteration of the protein on the plasma membrane or the cell membrane, uh, these cancerous cell are not regulated by normal cell-cell or cell matrix interaction, because the protein that are responsible for the interaction are either being altered or not secreted as the extracellular matrix. And this is the example of the epithelial cell, that is loss of E-cadherin. The usual function of E-cadherin is to make adhesion between two epithelial cells, and and that restricts their movement, or we can say this is how the epithelial cell forms or interact to each other with the help of E-cadherin. And in the when the epithelial cell become carcinomas, this E-cadherin formation will get altered in such a way that it does not secrete at extracellular membrane, or it is not even being secreted inside the cell membrane, inside the cells. And because of this, the epithelial cell now can move freely than the normal cell, and that might initiate the metastasis. Um, Another property that because that is related to this uh, as proteins at the extracellular membrane or the transmembrane protein is the contact inhibition. Contact inhibition is less in cancerous cell compared to that of normal cell, and the reason is same. It alters the transmembrane protein. And in the normal cell, when in let us consider an example of in vitro cell culture. In the When the normal cell interacts with another cell, it stick to it, and it prevents the further movement of the cell, and this is called contact inhibition. However, in cancerous cell, when a cell binds a cell interacts with another cell, it does not inhibit its movement, and it continues to move freely. Because of this, uh, the uneven growth of the cell might occur. Instead of the monolayer growth, the stacked growth of the cancerous cells is visible. Another important property of the cancerous cells is the incomplete differentiation. Yeah, so what is the normal process? Normal process is every blood cells is formed from the stem cells that are usually present in bone marrow, and they differentiate itself to specific committed cells with the help of different factors and different process. And this is the one of the examples shown in a rough way, that is pluripotent stem cells. It goes to different process to form erythrocyte cells. However, in case of leukemic cells, and when it reaches its final position, it does not further cell does not divide itself. Cell does not divide itself, and it remains in its own state. However, in this stage, stem cells are prone to differentiate and divides at a higher rate. Whereas at the final, when the final when the final state of the cells is reached, it does not further divide. However, in case of cancerous cell, it blocks the differentiation in between in at such a stage where cell proliferation continues to exist. So in the leukemic cells, it stops differentiate at this point, and we can see that cells is continue to grow and rather than completely differentiate itself to erythrocyte. The next property of a cancerous cell is that it secretes proteases. So what happens because of this? Uh, it cleaves the tissue factors or the growth factors, tissue factors that are available in the neighboring environment, so that they can use those tissue factor for their further proliferation. And this is the example that shows this is the cancerous cell, this is the stroma cells, and we can see that when the protease when the protease secretion is there is a competition between releasing cytokines and releasing protease. So when the protease overtake the cytokines, what it will does is it will reduce the cytokines. At the same time, it will increase the protease might lead to increased proteolytic activity, and that helps in proliferation of cancerous cell. And what is the function of cytokines? Cytokines, if the growth of cytokines is more, then it might recruit other cells such as immune cells to kill the cancerous cell. And when the cancerous cells dominate, usually the proteolytic activity of the protease dominates than cytokines. And these are the stromal cell, that is usually also known as connective tissue cells. And there is a crosstalk going on between cancerous cell and stromal cells, and whoever dominates will be able to survive. Another important properties is the formation of is another important properties is angiogenesis of the cancer cell. And because of this angiogenesis, what is angiogenesis? Angiogenesis, it is that uh, cancer cell continue to secrete growth factor, so that for the blood vessel formation. And why it is essential? Because if there is no blood vessel formation, cancer cell might grow to a certain extent. uh, for Let us consider a rough estimation of about 1 million cells, and in order to grow further, they need a instrument to supply them blood, and to supply them the oxygen, blood, and other nutrients. And to and very efficient method to do this is to have a blood vessel line. And in order to get a blood vessel line, they need to secrete growth factor, so that blood vessel line can continue to grow towards the cancerous cell. And this is the example where the growth factor is not been secreted enough, and cancerous cell is only seized to a limited extent, whereas here the blood vessels has grown and has reached in the cancerous cell, reached in between the cancerous cell. This not only helps cancer cell to grow, but it also promotes the metasize or the metastasis, which is far more dangerous and difficult to cure. So that's all for this video. Thank you for your time.